Hi, everybody. Welcome back to episode 97 of the Simply One podcast. I'm your host, Colin. I'm joined by my co-host, Chris.
How are we doing, everybody?
We're just a couple of best friends passionate about all things pop culture. If you're looking for lukewarm takes on movies, video games, TV shows, or even the occasional comic, then we got the show for you.
That's right.
Oh, you all right there?
Yep,
Getting
solid.
choked up? You were thinking about that big 100, and you're like,
Yeah, we're creeping up on the...
we be creeping on triple digits there.
That's right.
Yep.
Triple D.
100. We'll be here before you know it. Mm-hmm. We were just talking. We're like, what do we do? And you were like, you came up with some really bold ideas. And I'm like, those are not 3 weeks away ideas. Those are 3 months away ideas.
Yeah, but they were good ideas.
They were. So maybe we'll catch you on 200, you know?
We're starting now.
Yeah. But no, this week we went and saw the Iron Claw, try and get the taste of Rebel Moon out of our mouth.
That's right.
It was like a good saltine, you know?
Yeah.
Really cleanse the palate there.
Saltines. Divine.
Here they're like, that is beauty. That is art. Like, all right, easy. It's a pretty plain cracker.
Michelin stars.
The saltine is so plain that people use it to describe how bland things are. Mm-hmm. And you're over here like, I could just chow down.
I could.
I know.
And I have. And I will continue to. Because I'm him.
I'll be him.
I've
been him. I will continue to be him. Now, so we do have a bit of news. Nothing too major, I don't think.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
He went on ABC.
He sure did, and wiped away his crocodile tears. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't watch the full interview, but there's, like the ad, like the, tune in for the first interview.
That's literally
since,
what I saw. That's literally what I saw. And I was like, oh, I didn't know he was going on there.
Jonathan Major's first interview after the bombshell, and you're like, oh my God. Okay. And he's over here like wiping away a knot. Like, I didn't see a tear, but I saw him wiping. I'm like, all right, bub.
There we go, pal.
All righty. And I love people were like, are we going to see Vought like parody this in The Boys? And they were like, because ABC, who he did his first interview with, is owned by Disney, who owns Marvel, who just fired his ass. And now he's coming on to do an interview with Disney, basically, to go, here's what it feels like to be fired by Disney. You know what I mean?
Damn.
And it's such a weird, like, oh, that is just bizarrely, like... that funny feeling kind of thing, you know? This
full
actor,
circle.
Yeah, this actor who got fired by a company for being abusive to his girlfriend wants to go on another, owned by company news station to go, I got to save my character a little bit here.
That just feels like a monopoly somehow.
Yeah, well, again, it's just this really weird, like, how did we get here? This is a very strange, like...
And the worst part is, like, it's
we used to be
late
hunter-gatherers, And now here we are.
Yep.
But anyways... Before we get too deep there, actually in Marvel casting news, we'll start there. Steven Yeun is no longer he's no longer going to be in the Thunderbolts. He was going to play he was going to play Sentry, I believe. I just want to double check that. I completely blanked. Yes, he was playing Sentry. And there wasn't like bad blood or anything like that, but the strike pushed it back far enough that he had schedule conflicts now that it was set to And so he was like super public and being like, I'm really sorry for having to quit on this. Like, I really was looking forward to it, and I'd love to do something with Marvel in the future. This just didn't work out the way everything moved, which is really disappointing because, I also think it's so funny that like Robert Kirkman straight up outed his ass. Remember that? Robert Kirkman being like, my buddy Steven Yeun's going to play the Sentry in Marvel, and that was not official. And then now it's like, well, thanks, Robert Kirkman, you blew that open. Now we know Sentry's going to be in it, and it's not even going to be Steven Yeun. Or maybe they postpone and just don't put Sentry in. But who knows? Depending on how integral to the story he is, they might have to, keep forwarding forward and make somebody else be Sentry now.
Big old wet fart right there.
Yeah. But jeepers.
Pardon.
Jeepers. That fucking kills me. What a wild thing to say after audibly shitting your pants. Is just say jeepers. Gee willikers. After you just had like a baby shit sounding fart. In a total different news here from baby shits. Blumhouse and Atomic Monster did complete their merger. So Atomic Monster is the company owned by Mr. James Wan, and obviously Jason Blum is the head of Blumhouse. And so they work together on as like co-producers on Megan, the AI robot girl.
I heard it wasn't that great.
I heard pretty like better than mid things. Okay. Not like, like a 7 out of 10 kind of thing.
Right, man.
Worst things to watch, catch it on streaming, you'll have a good time, things like that. It also did really well for its budget. But again, you figure Jason Blum, he sits right in that pocket of that's Blumhouse's whole shtick is how can we make a horror movie for like between 5 and 15 million
and make 20
and make 50 million on it, and you just made 10 times your budget, and that's a big win there. And I think horror is a pretty good genre for that.
It's because there's just no good horror movies anymore.
Sure, well, partially that, but also it's easy to make something scary without like a massive budget. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I can't picture $100 million horror movie.
You just get a dark room, get an old looking house.
Yeah, I mean, you can do. In fact, horror is one of those genres where a lot of times less is more.
Right.
And so I think it is
it's like
pretty.
With Jaws, you don't. Most of the movie you don't see it.
Right. Exactly. Until, or when you do, it's like glimpses, things like that.
You don't see the full shot.
Yeah. But all of that to say, after they had worked together, it was announced, I think, back at the beginning of the last year that basically they're going to look at merging with, I think they would hold between the two of them a majority stake, but that also NBC Universal would have a stake in it as well. But that merger has completed. So now both film houses work together and, that they hold rights to The Conjuring, Five Nights at Freddy's, Night Swim, the new one that's coming out that apparently is getting pretty good like pre-screening reviews and stuff.
Okay.
That's another, like we talked about, less is more.
Sure. Yeah.
Megan, Happy Death Day, which did really well. The Black Phone, Ma, which I remember, Octavia Spencer.
The Black Phone, the Black Phone was, it was all right. Who were I'm trying to think of who played.
Ethan Hawke.
Bingo.
Mm-hmm.
His character was like, ooh.
Yeah.
But it was more like disturbing than it was scary.
Yeah. So, it's psychological.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've got Annabelle, The Nun, Split, The Purge,
Split's good.
Get Out, The Curse of La Llorona. We've got a lot of fun with that. Insidious, Malignant, The Invisible Man, Lights Out, and
Insidious
more.
is scary.
Yeah. So they've got a lot of things that are now shared under their roof. And so it's kind of nice because some of those
universe.
Yeah, essentially. Now it's not like they all exist together, but all of those are movies that they
The Conjuring
together.
And Annabelle and
all that
I think
is.
Insidious somehow is all played in
and
there.
so it'd be interesting to see Jason Blum kind of get his fingerprint on some of those, not large budget, but James Wan is known for slightly larger budget horror. And so it'd be interesting to see what Jason Blum could do now that he just has access to projects like that.
Yeah.
And just to see what the two of them do together. Because the one thing that Morgan and I had talked about, we were reflecting on Aquaman 2. In the first Aquaman, which was done by James Wan, there is a section of that where they go into I'm pretty sure it's the Mariana Trench. And there are like these really creepy, like it's a scary scene a little bit where you're like, oh, you can tell that James Wan likes horror, and he just couldn't help himself. Somebody stop me, because they're out like on a ship in the middle of the trench and it's like getting night and stormy and all that. And Aquaman has to dive down to like the bottom of the trench to get to wherever he's trying to go to. I don't remember the whole reason, bippity boppity boop, right? But there's just swarms of like these kind of mindless drone type, like almost fish zombie creatures. They kind of remind me of like mermaids, but like horrifying mermaids.
Okay.
And there's a really distinct shot from it that I'm like, that's the only shot from Aquaman that I can remember and go, that's pretty a striking visual.
Yeah.
And you can see the boat on the surface of the water. It's dark out, and I think Aquaman's holding a flare. And as he's swimming down through it, you can just see the swarm of them around him, like trying to stay out of the flare light.
Wow.
As he's like puncturing through them basically with the light. And it's like, that's a really spooky. And there was going to be like the Trench spinoff that got canceled and things like that. That was going to be James Wan, was probably going to be more horror.
I just saw a thing about Amber Heard.
Amber Turd?
Amber Turd. She came and she posted something. She was like,
thanks for the support or whatever.
Yeah, thanks for the support of, let me back on the movie and stuff like that. And she got so much fucking hate for it, bro.
Like, were you in that movie?
Yeah, I
don't remember.
No, as soon as I heard she was in that movie, I didn't want to go see the movie. And a lot of people are saying that's why it flopped so bad.
There's the potential. Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I really don't think she had a big enough character for it to impact it at all.
No, but I think it's a terrible storm, right? Yeah. Of like, it didn't look great. The universe itself hasn't done well. It's kind of
Right.
Diminishing returns for sure. Every time you go back, it's worse than before.
Yeah.
And then to know that it's basically on the way out. Like, this is the last project being released that is part of the DCEU, that original vision.
Yeah.
And so it feels like I'm not that invested anymore. What's the point, right?
Yeah.
And then you add on top of that a loud subsection of people that are like boycotting because she's a part of it. And all those things combined, I think. But I was reading today, it looks like it has the potential to break even.
Okay.
Which, obviously...
That's at least what you want.
Yeah, it's a shame that that's a celebration, but... I say a shame. I just mean for the people that worked on it. Obviously, you don't wish that they... I'm sure they didn't go into it going, you know what I want to make? A pretty mediocre movie.
Right.
And so for them to go, well, at least we didn't make a absolute disaster movie.
Right.
Because it was looking to be, I think they said internationally it's doing pretty well. So it's looking to, bring in north of $400 million. $400. 400 buckaroos, yeah. About 32 people went and saw it. Somewhere north of 420 million, I think it said. And the budget was around 210. So if you add in marketing, they're probably right around even. Yeah. So, all things considered, okay, cool. Good for you. You can cross it off, yeah. And go, all right, you know what? We didn't lose our ass on that one. And we got it out, and everybody can get their check, and we'll call it,
Safe.
Safe. So we got off on a tangent there about James Wan, but I do think it's interesting to see those two, make some moves.
She really shit on his pillow.
Allegedly. I don't think that ever was in the court of law proven to be a thing, but... We'll say allegedly, just for safety's sake.
Where there's smoke, there's fire,
Where there's stink, there's shit,
So I don't think she's just farting under the sheets.
And I'll tell you what, this stinks. Anyways.
I'll tell you what.
This stinks.
This stinks.
This was a weird one for me. So, the how to drain your
dragon. Just makes me think of the How to Train Your Dragon. And, it's like
it's the porn parody.
It's just like Donkey, and he's like, "Fuck the dragon."
Yeah, that was a total Freudian slip. How to daisy. How to Train Your Dragon, live action adaptation is gonna have Gerard Butler play Stoic the dad, and he plays the dad in the animation.
Yeah,
so it's a very weird one step further to be like, why are we doing live action remakes of animated movies that, first of all, aren't that old?
Not really.
And second of all, that is the same guy.
Someone else.
Right. Or just do a totally different story, or
and that's gonna be hard. That's gonna be a weird thing because I know they're not gonna be able to get the actor who plays Hiccup. I can't remember his name. He was in Sorcerer's Apprentice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like that's his claim to fame.
Oh, he was also in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
That's the other
Not
name.
Justin Long. Jay Burrell.
Because he's old now.
I mean, he's older.
But
still, he's not a kid.
He can't play that.
Yeah. He might be able to pull off, but he doesn't even look like Hiccup either. No, he doesn't. Totally different hair and everything.
He's skinny and lanky.
Sure.
And that's Hiccup's build. They got the same build. I mean, you can slap a wig on
all skinny white guys look the same?
Basically.
Whoa.
Slap a wig on him, dude.
Is that Michael Cera? I can't tell.
Is that Steve Carell?
Yeah, who is that? Steve Carell. Yeah.
He's a white guy.
He's white. Yeah. Anyways. So again, that just struck me as a very weird thing of all right, I mean, cool. Get Gerard Butler in a movie, I guess.
Yeah.
He is, he is, he is salted popcorn, All right, yeah.
Sure.
You want some popcorn? Oh, is there butter on it? There's salt. I'm like, all right, well, it's better than plain popcorn, I guess. I'd really like butter, Well, you got salt. You're like, okay, well.
Okay. Thanks.
And you take it and sit down, you don't finish the bucket.
Dude, we always finish the bucket.
No doubt. I mean,
before the previews
we
are
don't
done.
Quit, dude.
We're in our refill before the movie starts.
We're working until we feel bottom. You know what I'm saying?
It's just a consistent.
We hit the work. Yeah, it's like those videos of the dudes driving railroad spikes where they're in synchronous. Ting, 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 ting. That's us digging just handfuls into our mouth.
We're scaring the kids in there.
Yeah, people are looking at us.
Mom, my tooth came out. I'm not kidding.
I'm not kidding. Anyways, Jay Baruchel, that's his name. Did I say that?
Yeah.
feel like I mispronounced his last name. Either way. Yeah, and so it's just, I was reading here to see if we knew who was going to play Hiccup and Astrid yet, and it doesn't look like we do. Just old Jerry Butler. Oh, man.
G-Spot Butler.
Old geriatric butler. No, I don't know. He is just a geriatric butler. He's just a really old guy that you make do a bunch of shit for you. He is too old to be doing it. Yeah. He's Alfred. Yeah. You know, where you're like, that guy needs to be relaxing.
Alfred, I need you to move this,
He just makes him his bitch.
150-pound bag of potatoes down the hall.
Yeah, can you get that downstairs for me?
Frail old man. Yeah.
Okay. Elevator's out. You have to take the stairs.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Master Wayne. You know, he just...
Thanks.
Preach. So you're literally Batman. Anyways, another aside. Old Jerry Butler. He also does not look much like the character at all. I wonder if they're going to fat him up, you know, give him the big old beard, or nah, you know, because there's a couple ways it could go. Do you go, we're going to make this look like the animated people, but alive, or really ground this thing and make it look like real people with dragons? You know what I mean?
That
seems interesting.
I'd be for.
No. Sorry. That was just all I got. So the Emmys did a strange thing. They split up the Creative Arts Emmy Awards into 2 nights and put them like a week or two ahead of the main event Emmys. So I was very confused because I saw people winning Emmys, and I was like, I thought the Emmys weren't until like middle of January. What is this? You know? No, it's the Creative Art Emmys. So that's basically kind of like the people that we don't really want on the main show, you know. It's the people that scroll along the bottom while we get musical numbers on, so that people tune in, get asses and seats, you know. So basically, The Last of Us ran away with it a bit, bringing in a total of 8 awards, including, let's see here, Outstanding Guest Actress was for Storm Reed, who played, totally lost her name, Riley. Guest Actor, Nick Offerman. He won.
Yeah.
The best picture editing, main title design, prosthetic makeup, sound editing, sound mixing, and visual effects. Like I said, kind of ran away with it there. There was a 3-way tie here it is. The Bear, Wednesday, and White Lotus all secured a 3-way tie for second place with 4 wins each. So there were quite a few. I mean, yeah, it's not news, but we are still in the golden age of television, where there's a lot of good TV to watch. I mean, for example, last night at the Golden Globes, there was quite a few awards given out, obviously. I think there was 27 categories, yeah. So you had, you know, the nice thing about the Golden Globes is it goes between movies and television. So you kind of get to just celebrate visual media.
Sure.
But you had The Bear running away with all of the comedy categories for television, which rubbed some Barry fans the wrong way. Or like, oh, man. But, I mean, I did see the discourse online where, like, The Bear Season 2 was leaps and bounds ahead of Barry Season 4. Barry Season 4 wasn't
more
bad.
Of a drama.
Well, sure, but also, I mean, I would say the same thing about The Bear. The Bear's not very funny.
Yeah.
They both have the same aspect to them where you're like, I don't really know where you fit. You're a drama that has comedy in it.
Yeah.
You know? Or are you a heavily dramatic comedy? I don't know. Right. But either way, I think Barry Season 4 kind of had a weird, like, the middle really did make it a very hard pill to swallow, I think.
Yeah.
With the time jump and things like that. Where it was pretty jarring and kind of broke up the flow a bit. Yeah. In a way that I wasn't sure how to feel about.
Yeah, because everything was like, it just kept going.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just such it's like a hard left turn.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I told you this. The Bear Season 2 has some of the best episodes of television I've watched in a long, long time.
I gotta watch it.
So I agree that both are very good shows and deserving of awards. Yeah. But I do think if Barry's got to lose to something and it loses to The Bear, that's not a snub.
Right.
That's best man wins, right? Mm-hmm. But with that in mind, Oppenheimer also ran away with quite a few awards.
I'm still seeing memes where it's the Oppenheimer he's thinking. It looks
me
horrified.
And my friend, I still think about that fucking horrendous tweet I showed you. Shoney give me bomb head. Call that Toppenheimer or Sloppenheimer.
Yeah,
That's what it was, Sloppenheimer. I'm like, that's foul. No, so Oppenheimer won Best Motion Picture for a drama, Best Performance by a Male Actor in a Motion Picture for Cillian Murphy, Best Performance by a Male Actor in a Supporting Role for Robert Downey Jr., Best Director was Chris Nolan, and then the Best Original Score was Ludwig Göransson. And so I think it had the most out of the film awards. Yeah, exactly. No film or show took home more awards than Oppenheimer, so it got the lead there. Succession had 4 wins. There was a funny little moment between Kieran Culkin, who is in Succession, and he won Best Performance by a Male Actor in a drama, and everybody's favorite was Pedro Pascal. And again, it's another one of those cases where I haven't watched Succession, but everything I hear is like, that's a toss-up. You know, that's either one's, a fair
It's not
pick.
like The Last of Us didn't take home a shit ton of awards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's got the Emmys coming up where we'll see, it'll be again, maybe this is an upset or maybe not. But Kieran Culkin in his acceptance speech said something effective like, suck it, Pedro, and held up the award and then said something, joke, I'm just kidding or whatever, and Pedro Pascal was in good spirits as always and kind of makes like the moping face like, oh, how could you, but yeah, he did suck it, Pedro, this is mine, and kind of playing up the idea that probably Kieran also was like, I'm probably going to lose to Pedro.
Yeah.
But so I mean, there's been a ton of flack being thrown at, I completely lost his name, which is kind of ironic here. Joe Coy, is that his name? Who was the host? He apparently, first of all, a few things happened. His jokes weren't very funny, and his delivery wasn't very good. And so it was like there was a lot of him telling jokes and then just like a dead room. And some of his jokes were borderline like, holy shit, dude. Like, first of all, is this 10 years ago? Second of all, fucking get out a thermometer and read the room, where he's talking about Oppenheimer, like really praising it, and then being like, and Barbie was about a doll with big tits, And you're like, did you watch the movie? Like, the whole movie was basically making fun of
people like
that sentiment, And so, like, there's a really good shot of him making, like, a jab at the Barbie movie. And then it pans, or, the camera cuts over to Ryan Gosling, who is just blank, not even giving him a pity laugh, just kind of like, And you're like, pfft. And then he made a joke at, like, Taylor Swift's expense that was kind of like a low blow, low blow of, like, because there's the premise of the joke sucks, where the part of the joke was like, we come on after football, and the difference between the NFL and the Golden Globes is the Golden Globes is going to have less shots of Taylor Swift, because Taylor's been at a lot of her boyfriend Travis Kelce's games, and the NFL's like, look, there's Taylor, and it's like, yeah, you're going to get, she's like the biggest star in the world right now. Yeah. You've got people watching football just because she's there. We're going to put the camera on her, and again, there's vastly more differences between the NFL and the Golden Globes than that. You know what I mean? So the premise of the joke is kind of flawed. And, whether it's a funny joke or unfunny joke, it's a weird,
Hey, Brian going to be asking to host again.
No. And and he was like, he was kind of making comments during of like, oh, like, I didn't write the jokes, I just deliver them. Like, shit like that. And you're like,
then that's even worse.
Yeah. And you're like, this isn't going well, man. It's not going well. And so... yeah, everybody was kind of like, this is tough. This is rough. Get him off the stage. But, all of that to say, that's all the news I got for you, bub.
Yeah.
You got anything else you want to talk about? You want to talk about the Iron Claw?
Let's talk about Iron Claw.
Iron Claw?
Iron Claw.
Sounds like a guy's name.
Urkel.
We're talking to Iron Claw here. Yeah. This just in. Give me a synopsis, baby.
Yeah, let me go ahead and let me just whip that out for us real quick.
Don't pull one up. Tell me what this... You watched the movie. Tell me what it's about. Without going, just here's the play-by-play.
It's about these brothers.
What's
the
their
Eric
name?
Van Halens.
No. The Von Erichs.
Von Erichs.
The Eddie Van Halen
Eddie
family.
Van Halen.
No, the Von Erichs.
The Von Erichs. And they're upcoming...
Is this a true story?
Based off a true story.
It's essentially a true story, yeah.
Or it's, I think, inspired by a true
story.
They
had to put that because there's some Hollywoodizing, but...
but it's about these 4 brothers. Kevin.
Yep. Carrie. David. And Michael. And
they're upcoming to pro wrestling.
In the early 80s, yeah.
think it's what starts off in 78.
Yeah, very end of the 70s into the early 80s, and then beyond. But yeah, and it's just about their
journey together,
their bond together, and you know, their journey through professional wrestling and life. Let's talk some numbers first before we get into that. So, this isn't the kind of movie that budget is a big, like, box office isn't the main goal of this movie, sure. I don't think. Obviously, movies want to make money.
Right.
But this was definitely an artistic endeavor, I would say. But on a budget of $15.9 million, domestically, it's made $24.9 million.
Nice.
And it hasn't released internationally at all yet.
Wow.
So, and I think it's been getting pretty good word of mouth. The Rotten Tomatoes scores on this, oh man, for a second I was like, whoa. Rotten Tomatoes hadn't updated yet, and it was still showing me Rebel Moon. And I was like, what?
No.
Why did everybody hate the claw? The Iron Claw.
Not the claw.
Not the claw. No, so the critics gave it an 88%. It's rotten, or not rotten, it's certified fresh. And the audience score is a 94%.
Yeah.
So everybody's liking this movie, which I think will help with the, you know, you might see, it's an A24 film. I don't think you'll see the same type of legs like you did with something like Everything Ever All at Once. But I mean, I think A24 might have another really good word of mouth. Let's go see this thing. You know, and like I said, it hasn't released internationally yet, so it's still got quite a bit of opportunity to
really
grow.
grab some people. Wrestling's real big out in Europe.
Yeah.
More so.
Not more so, yeah. And I think there's that as well. And you'll also grab different demographics of people, where you might have people who know the Von Erichs because they watched them in their, you know, in the 80s when they were on. Sure. And are like, oh shit, I gotta go. And you know,
taking their kids with them and stuff like that. And then the kids watching like, oh, this is
dads
good.
and sons going together, things like that. But so yeah, I do think it's got the opportunity to do well. Also with, like I said, good word of mouth. It's going to be, you got to go see this movie. Yeah. And then people will show up and support it. And like I said, it's that, you know, high risk, high reward, or I guess low risk, high reward, where you're only $15 million in. I say only, but
movie.
You know, in movie numbers, that's not that much. And I also think it was kind of a good catch to get, you know, Zac Efron is a really known name. And then same with Jeremy Allen White playing the brother Carrie. To have the two of them in it. They're both really hot right now, especially Jeremy Allen White with The Bear. And so to get both of them under $15 million and then go, hey, let's put some faces in a pretty low budget movie that seems to have high quality and we'll get a lot of butts in seats. So with that in mind, give me some spoiler-free plot thoughts, baby. This is an odd one to not spoil because it is a true story, but I think we just approach it at first as it is just a movie.
Yep.
And then we can kind of look at the real world situation.
The plot's pretty steady. There's no like big jumps, anything like that, where it's like it throws you off. I feel like throughout the entire movie, there's a certain energy it gives. Yeah. And when that energy is changed, it feels proper with it.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's like, okay, you know, like, yes, awesome. This, you know, things are going their way and stuff like that, and you know, it helps build up, and you know, when that mood
it all
changes,
comes crashing down. Yeah, exactly.
You know, they do
where
a
are
real,
they now type deal. Yeah,
they do a real good job of like hooking you and then sinking it. I mean, what about you?
So the thing that I liked about it was, this is a little bit not spoilery, but
there we go.
Already, no. I think it does a very good job of being, you know, it sounds unfortunate because it is a true story, but it does a very good job of being a modern tragedy. Yeah. You know, where you're like, you know, if it can go wrong, it does in some fashion. And so it does a good job of like laying certain, like story points out ahead of time to like they mentioned, you know, there's this ongoing gag about, or not a gag, but like an ongoing reference to a family curse, you know, the Von Erich curse. And then it kind of pays that off at times where you're like, man, are they cursed? Because this is bad luck, you know? And so I think that was an interesting thing to interject into a true story, where you're like, you know what? I know this is a true story, which makes it all the more like, God damn, are they cursed? Yeah. You know?
Is there some weird magic happening here?
So I did like that. Again, it's a weird movie to we kind of compared it to like an All Quiet on the Western Front. Where like it's a weird movie to like.
It's good.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, the beauty in the film.
Yeah,
and cinema
it is
and
a
the
good
acting.
movie, but it's hard to say you enjoy it. You don't leave it feeling better than you went in.
I'm not. Yeah, we're not. Saturday night.
You know what we should watch?
Shit.
The Iron Claw. Yeah. You know what we should watch? Put on All Quiet on the Western Front. Get that on there. You're like,
It's a tough one.
It's one of those where it's like, yeah, this is an important film, but I don't know that it's a multi-watcher.
Yeah.
You also compared to like a Saving Private Ryan, where it's another one that's
it's a beautiful film.
yeah,
great
it's categorically a great movie, but it's not one that you go, let's put that on.
Yeah, it's a
watch it every time it's on. You got to be in a certain mood for it. Yeah. What about some characters and chemistry?
The brothers, all the Van Eriks.
Yeah, Von Erichs.
Van Eriks. Now, all the Von Eriks relationships with or the brothers at least is just like so touching.
Yeah,
right? And like seeing, especially like Kevin and David.
Yeah,
at first
the two
being
eldest brothers
there for Michael.
Yeah,
because the Kevin's what? How old is he when he?
I'm not sure
like
how old
18,
he is,
19?
but he's the eldest.
Yeah. Well,
so
not the eldest.
He's the second eldest.
The second eldest.
He's the eldest of the living brothers.
Yeah, because I feel like that's not a.
And so now he's got to be older than 18 or 19. He's got to be in his early 20s. Yeah, because Carrie is the third youngest, and he's at college to go to the Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So Kevin's in his mid-20s.
Mid-20s. And
David's right behind him, and then Carrie, and then Michael. And Michael's the one who maybe is just out of high school.
Yeah.
He's maybe 18.
I think fresh out of high school.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he is, because they ask him, what do you want to do for college in the beginning when they're all at breakfast. But Michael really likes music. He's not too crazy into
About
wrestling.
sports in general.
Yeah. And
he's more creative.
parents really,
not sure
aren't
on
for
that.
about it. But his brothers go to pick him up from his buddy's house, and they're all jamming in the garage, and they're cheering him on and stuff like that, and really supportive of him.
Yeah.
And it is like that brotherly love where it's like,
I think all of the actors did a really good job of selling that chemistry.
Yeah.
Of they feel like brothers, and then especially when like hardship does fall on the family, it's like, at least they've got each other kind of thing, and that comes through really, really believably. I think Zac Efron does a very, very good job in this movie. Jeremy Allen White as well, but I think Zac Efron as the lead, because the story is told from primarily his perspective. It's his experience in the Von Erich family.
Yeah.
But he does a very good job. Especially as like the emotional stakes kind of get higher throughout the film. He does a good job of kind of like meeting those stakes. Because it'd be easy for it to feel not silly, but like, the amount of maybe sorrow or pain or, giving up kind of feeling of like, this isn't worth it or whatever, could be easy to come off as like over the top. You know what I mean? Where somebody might go for it too much or things like that. But I think he's really believable in the emotions he's supposed to be portraying.
There is a specific scene I'm thinking of that I want to talk about once we dip into spoilers and stuff like that.
I think I'm ready to rate it. Do you have any more like non-spoilers that you wanted to talk about before we get into it?
With characters and chemistry with the dad. What's his name?
I don't remember Dad's name. Hold on, let me pull him up.
Pete.
Is it?
I don't know.
Oh. You said it with confidence, and I'm like, could have been. I just knew.
What if it is?
Right? Yeah. Oh my God, you had that stored away somewhere. Let's see here. The Iron Claw.
The Iron Claw.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. His dad is a professional wrestler. Fritz is his name.
Close.
Yeah, basically the same name.
No, but so Fritz obviously is like super hard on his kids, and you see it in the trailer when they're all at the kitchen table, and he's like, obviously it goes.
Obviously, Carrie's my favorite, then Kevin, then David, then Michael. But the rankings can always change.
Always change.
And like the way it's played in the trailer, you're like, is that a joke or is that, is that meant to be funny or shocking or what?
No, it is dead serious.
He means it. Yeah. And that kind of really is the perfect introduction to that dynamic, because that's the first scene you see of the family together at the table.
And it's just like that. That's how it is. The entirety of like his.
his existence with his kids. Yeah, is basically, you guys have rankings and are competing amongst yourselves for my graces. Is kind of the mood that he sets. Because there's this dynamic of dad never really made it as a wrestler, you know?
He almost did.
Yeah, exactly.
But he blames it that they fucked him over and stuff like that.
They always pull the rug out from under you at the last minute,
pointing the finger.
Yeah.
Wagging that thing.
Yeah. And so now it's like this weird, I didn't make it, but you boys can. But the implication is like, you guys have to, basically.
Yeah, if you don't,
then what are you doing?
You're not a Von Erich.
Yeah. And so I did appreciate, before we get into just, well, I'll save it for spoilers. Are you ready to rate it?
Let's rate this thing.
All right, how do we rate shit around here?
Well, you can always be overwhelmed, which means you thoroughly enjoyed the film and it surpassed your expectations. You can be underwhelmed, which means it didn't meet your expectations. You thought it was not a great movie, a flop, as the kids say,
or stanker.
A stank. Or you can always be right in the middle and be
simply whelmed. Want 1, 2, 3 it?
Yeah.
All right, you want
1, 2, 3.
Overwhelmed.
I mean, yeah. Especially because I was like, I didn't really want to see the movie. I was like, this doesn't look that good.
I knew it looked good, but I was prepared for it to be like pretty good. You know,
it's no good.
I thought this was great.
Yeah.
And relatively brisk. It's only 2 hours, which I say only, but you know, we're kind of in the age of a 2 hour and 45-minute movie. And so for it to come in at 2 hours and still feel like it captured a lot of things. So, you know, again, like, it's a weird movie to spoil because it is a true story. So if you know the true story, it's not a spoiler. But for a lot of people, it's their first time with this story.
It's sad.
It's very sad. Kevin, who is played by Zac Efron, is the only brother alive today. In fact, I think today, Dad and Mama both passed. And so it is just Kevin and his kids. In fact, one of the things that you and I talked about before going into the movie was there's another brother, Chris, that isn't in the movie, isn't included in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because from what I was reading, basically it was like unrealistically tragic was how it was kind of like to add another death, basically. Was like from a movie telling, storytelling standpoint.
Hollywood's kind of like,
Right. And I think that's how tragic is that like your story is so tragic that people won't buy it on film.
It's fake.
And it does make you feel bad, like, to be the excluded brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do think maybe that was the wrong call.
Make a director's cut.
Right? Where you just add in a whole...
Snyder way.
Yeah. But no, so all of the brothers die either by their own hand or by a freak tragedy. Freak accident.
What was the fifth brother's death?
Suicide.
Yep.
Yeah. So
was he in wrestling too?
I don't believe so, from what I was reading. Could have been. Let me double check, and I don't want to speak out of turn here. Let's see. But kind of talk about some of your spoilers.
Yeah, so going into, I guess, like from
Chris Von Erich was a professional wrestler.
Damn.
And he died at 21 years old by suicide.
Jesus.
God.
But yeah, so super early on, we see...
Mike was 23. Sorry, I'm just going to...
No, yeah, list them off.
Carrie passes at 33. David Von Erich passed away at 25.
How old is Kevin?
Let's see.
Well, he's probably 60.
Probably. Mid-60s. Yeah, he's 66.
Yeah.
But, that was something that I wanted to mention before I forget about it. He got to come and see the movie at the premiere. Ooh. Which, can you imagine the pressure of being anybody involved in the movie? And apparently he loved it. And I think one of his... I read a quote from somebody involved in the movie, one of the writers or director. Could have even been... Zac Efron. But his one, like, real stipulation, he said, if you're going to make this movie about us, you've got to show how much I love my brothers. Like, that's what he wanted to be the focus, not just look how sad it is, but, like, there was so much love, between the brothers. And I think that, like we talked about, that for sure comes through.
Yeah. Yeah.
and does add to the tragedy,
The sorrow
of it.
inherently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I mean, he loves his brothers, so then when they pass,
You feel.
yeah. Especially because he kind of has like from a writing standpoint, it is interesting to take somebody's true experience and go, here is a true like story in this person's life. And it does have beats, where like he's having his first date with his soon to be, eventual wife. And she asks him like, what does he want out of life? Basically, what do you want? And he's like, I want to be the world heavyweight champion of the world. And I want to be with my brothers, and you're like, did I say world heavyweight champion of the world?
Yeah.
The heavyweight champion of the world in wrestling, and I want to be with my brothers, and that was it. That's his. If he can have that, he's good.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get either in the end, and so it's like there is this natural tragic trajectory of his life where the things he thought he wanted at that age, he just doesn't get. But then also there's like the triumph of life, I guess, where he persevered through it.
Right.
Because it would have been very easy for him to give up, and reach a point where he just joins them. Because what is the point of continuing like this? But so then to see him at the end and find things that maybe he didn't know he wanted out of life, like his ranch with his kids and his wife and all that, But from just a play-by-play, I mean, sorry, I cut you off to mention Kevin's reaction to the story.
Just spitting.
Yeah. But you had started to talk about some of your spoilers, and I wanted to hear what you thought.
Yeah, so super early on, it started to talk about like behind the scenes on wrestling, which I thought was cool. And like from someone like me, like I'm not that crazy about wrestling.
Yeah.
Still had me pretty hooked. And like that's what I like when I have talked about it, I'm like, I'm not into wrestling. But like that got me hooked onto it of like the concept of everything.
Yeah.
To enjoy the film.
Yeah, because there is a bit of like inside baseball, like behind the scenes of wrestling.
And I thought that was super cool. But then like so Kevin throughout it he's to be expected to be the world heavyweight champion.
Yeah, it's kind of like almost like a royalty thing of like he's the eldest.
And he makes it. He gets on like live TV and he gets a shot at.
Yeah, so I can't think of the wrestler's name. Not Ric Flair. I mean, he does eventually fight Ric Flair, but initially it's whoever the world heavyweight champion
at the time is. And he but it wasn't for the title. They're just fighting him.
Yeah, it was basically like get the hype up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's got a shot at it,
And he did win. He beat his ass, but when he came on to speak, he kind of froze, and his brother David came up there.
Yeah.
And was just like laying it on the mic and getting the crowd going.
Yeah.
And that's where it was.
Yeah.
And so his dad comes
David
in.
had the presence.
And his dad comes in and goes, killer on the mic,
Yeah.
And but the heavyweight champion at the time picked up Kevin and slammed him on the back.
First of all, threw him outside of the ring, which wasn't planned.
Yeah, it wasn't planned.
Because that's the thing you and I talked about was that, it's kind of interesting to see. Obviously, wrestling is scripted. There's here's what's going to happen. Here's the blow I blow. What we're supposed to do. Yeah. Here's what we're going to do. And they've got, it's a dance essentially. It's a choreographed fight where how can I almost hurt you?
Right.
Without hurting you, but making them think I'm hurting you. Right. And so you give each other here's what's going to happen. Then you'll do this. Then we'll do that. And there's obviously room for improv if you're both really good at it. Of like, oh yeah, going for that.
That's what I really liked is because for me, I thought the entire thing is scripted.
Right.
And it's like none of it's real. But like seeing that, of like here's the base outline.
Yeah.
Have fun with it. If you see an opportunity for something else, take it.
And here's the plot of the fight. By the end, it's going to end in him being disqualified. So there is no real winner of the fight. I demand my rematch. I deserve my rematch. Right. That's where this fight's going to end. But in the middle of the fight.
But in the middle of the fight, he picks him up and slams him on his back right on the concrete.
Yeah, outside of the ring where he wasn't supposed to be.
I thought he got paralyzed.
Yeah, like he probably did too.
Yeah, because his hands like jolted up as if you did. Yeah, and like he just was shaking and couldn't move. And
it's because he knocked the wind out of him. Probably really hurt his back, just pain wise.
Right.
Maybe even cracked ribs.
And then, after the whole fight and everything, the thing his dad says is, "You were slow getting up."
Yeah, that's what is. Yeah,
you were real slow getting up.
Are you good?
Yeah,
you're kind of slow getting up. Yeah.
He's like, I
physically couldn't get up. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, and that's what he said too. He was like, it's not a matter of like I was slow. He's like, I
could not move.
I couldn't move. There's nothing I
had to
do.
get my bearings.
And then he's like, David, you were a killer on the mic, my man.
What was that about, my man? Yeah.
And then David's, like, oh, thank you, sir. And then after he leaves, he looks at Kevin.
Kevin's kind of like, I'm sure,
Yeah, he just, Kevin was like, nah. Like,
Kevin was like,
I like how they they don't take it personal with one another.
No, they kind of know that it's dad.
Yeah, that's just how he is.
Yeah. And that even though dad seemed to try and sow some competition between the brothers,
It doesn't.
the brothers never really stooped to it.
They're
I
always
mean, they do kind of show some hurt feelings at times.
Yeah.
But again, it's hurt by dad, not each other.
But then after that, who is it?
David goes to
David ends up taking the
passing away. Yeah.
spotlight. He ends up
getting popular.
and he ends up going to Japan.
Yeah, because you got to basically do like almost a world tour for it to be a world heavyweight.
And why didn't Kevin do it?
Because dad basically they liked David more.
That's right. Yeah, because
basically Kevin missed his shot.
Yep.
Essentially, he had his opportunity, flopped it. And so we're gonna send David over to Japan so we can fight in Japan because apparently at the time Japan had a pretty good wrestling scene, and to be the world champion you got to win overseas, you know. And while he's in Japan, he has a freak accident.
And I mean, because he ends up getting married. Kevin ends up getting married.
Yep.
His brother David comes back for that, and he's like,
Puking up blood in the bathroom.
blood in the bathroom. And Kevin's like, what are you doing? He's like,
it sounds like they're chalking up to stress. Basically, he's getting run down.
yeah. He's like, just doing it nonstop. I'm getting tired, man.
Yeah.
People are throwing me around. And
And Kevin's kind of like, why don't you fucking relax? Like, slow down, man.
Don't go back to Japan.
And he's like, they both kind of laugh because they know like that's not an
That
option.
can't, And then he was like, all right, you all right? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine.
And so they go out and dance some more at
And
the
then
wedding. Yeah. Well, I mean, some amount of time later when he's in Japan,
he dies
in his hotel room from a ruptured bowel. Now, I would like to read some more. There apparently is a few, documentaries essentially about the Von Erich family. And I'd like to watch it now, having seen, like, the dramatized version of it,
Right.
And just kind of get the base facts. Here's everything that happened in the more detailed timeline where you're not focused as much on the interpersonal part, but just here's what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, he passes away without getting his shot at the title. We didn't even talk about Carrie. There's this ongoing theme in the family of like almost achieving greatness.
Yeah. Carrie's at
an
college.
Olympian. He's gonna be in the
Olympics.
76 Olympics or the 78.
I think it's 78.
It could be the 1980 Olympics. Let me look.
Because they cut it early because
It was being hosted in Moscow.
and they don't want to do it with the Soviet Union. The Red Scare.
Let's see. Yeah, it was the 1980 Olympics. So yeah, we boycotted the 1980 Olympics because it was being hosted in Moscow. And Kerry was set to be in the Olympics for track and field, but it looked like he was discus.
Yeah.
Or maybe shot put, but I think it was discus.
It was discus.
And the impression was that he was good. I mean, he was set to be an Olympian. That's my thing. Is like, even if you don't medal, you're an Olympian.
Yeah.
You were among the best of the best. And then, gets boycotted. And so he has to come home. And it's like this weird thing of like, for him, that was his
shot.
That was his shot and he missed it. It was taken from him. And again, it's that, are they cursed? Is that bad luck? And it starts small like that where you're like, that's just some bad run of bad luck. But then it does eventually go, my God.
It just doesn't stop.
So he's supposed to be an Olympian, comes home. And after David, is it after David passes? No, because they wrestle together, the three of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, backtracking a little bit. The three of them, David, Kevin, and Carrie, are like a really good trio. And you get like, it was a really like cool, upbeat montage of them like wrestling as a trio of brothers.
And just fucking it up too. Like, getting the crowd crazy and stuff like that. And they were winning.
Yeah. And so it's that thing of like, as long as they're together, they've got, that's their joy,
Yeah, they're with their brothers.
And then, David passes away while he's in Japan, and it's like, all right, well, and like at the brothers' wake.
Yeah, their
dad basically
Fritz was like, "You're not gonna cry."
Yeah, yeah. First of all, yeah, their whole family's dynamic is fucked up.
Yeah,
where like mom, you can see her like she's trying to wipe her tears away and like not visibly be upset that her fucking son died at 25 from a freak accident, or at least a freak, medical emergency, where it's very sudden and you don't know about it, and he's overseas, so it's another, extra weird thing. But either way, it'd be super understandable for her to be just inconsolable. And she's over here like drying her eyes real quick so Fritz doesn't see her crying over the loss of her son.
Yeah.
And then they're sitting outside, Mike, Mike, Kevin, and Carrie, having beers and talking. And Dad comes out and basically is like, all right, well, one of you boys is going to have to do this heavyweight champion fight, in his behalf, and we're going to get that belt in this house, And
they all kind of have that moment of like,
first of all, yeah, they have this,
holy
like,
shit,
are you
dude,
serious
like,
right now? And then Kevin's basically like, I'll do it, And then Carrie steps up and is like, no, I'll do it.
No, I'll do it.
And that was where it was a bit of competition.
A bit.
And I think a part of that could be from, again, needing Dad's approval. But second of all, like, Carrie almost was an Olympian.
Yeah. So
He wants something.
Yeah, his reasoning for it is understanding.
Yeah.
Of like, this has to be my redemption because I was almost an Olympian. I can't do that anymore. So
yeah. Because that's the tragic part about Olympics in general is a lot of times you have that as your shot.
Yeah.
If you don't go in the 80, you're not going in 84 because you'll be out of your prime and it'll be somebody else, somebody younger and stronger. But all of that to say, Dad basically goes, all right, well, the only way to keep it fair is to flip a coin, because Carrie, basically he's like, Carrie, you're really good out there. The people like you. Kevin, you're the oldest. And like, that's all Kevin's qualified for is because he's the oldest. So there's almost like a right by passage, or by age.
Yeah.
But then kind of implying that, but Carrie's better than you. Yeah. So let's flip this coin and see who gets to go. And it ends up being Carrie. Mm-hmm. So Carrie goes and he beats Ric Flair in Texas, I think, at
the Houston.
The bull. And
he brings it home.
He brings home the belt. Mm-hmm. And everybody's kind of celebrating. And it's like this weird, bittersweet thing for Kevin. Yeah. Of like, the belt's home, but I wanted to be, that was supposed to be mine. I mean, you figure
it should have been me, not him.
The two things he wanted was to be the world heavyweight champion and to be with his brothers. And a brother just died, and I didn't get to be the world heavyweight champion. So, not feeling hot right now.
Right.
And Carrie's getting fucked up at home, drinking a celebratory beers. I was like, I'm just so wired right now. I gotta.
Yeah, I'm having trouble coming down from this.
Yeah, and I gotta go take a ride, and he's got his motorcycle, and Kevin's like, all right, well, be careful, bub, And he goes out, and the way they played it, I was like, he's gonna die in a fucking biking accident.
Yep.
And he doesn't. But he does.
He loses his foot.
He loses his
which they did a really good
leg.
job because I thought I was like,
he just hurt himself,
broke his leg.
Yeah,
right. Because there's a section where like he puts his crutches down, and you still see him walking, but like he hops. But I don't know, it was the way that it looked. And I was like, okay, so he has both of his legs, and then like he just walks.
He
out
turns,
and he's missing his
and
foot.
you can see that he's missing his left
and you're
foot.
Like, boom!
Yeah, from like mid shin down. And so you're like, fuck. And so he was on top of it all, and now
he's done.
He's done, right? Yeah. And it's just like another back-to-back loss kind of thing.
But he continues to wrestle.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dad starts pushing on Mike to wrestle.
And Mike wants
nothing to do with wrestling. And the others really don't want Mike to be involved because it's not for him.
Oh, backtracking a little bit.
Yeah. To like the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, Fritz being so hard on Mike and Zac Efron, Kevin went over to his mom and was like,
I got to talk to you about something.
And she goes, that's what your brothers are for.
That's what you got brothers for, yeah. And no, you can't have my ear. You've got brothers.
Yeah. And he's like, no, like I want to talk. And she's like, all right, what? I'm doing something.
Yeah, like I don't want to be late.
And he's like, you got to say something to Dad. He's being too hard on Mike.
And she's like, they'll work it out.
Yeah. And he's just like...
And that's basically it.
Yeah, you got to say something. And then he leaves.
Yeah.
And she doesn't.
No.
Mm-mm. And
so Dad bullies him into being a wrestler. Mm-hmm. And so Kevin's doing his best to like...
And he's getting his shit pushed in.
Yeah.
He was doing good.
He was doing fine,
Yeah, he's not like awful.
No, but, he's not... It's not him. First of all, his heart's not in it.
Yeah.
He wants to be a musician. And he ends up taking a bad spill and hurting his shoulder, probably tearing his rotator cuff or something. And so he goes to the hospital and they do shoulder surgery to repair it and all that. And he has a really weird reaction in surgery and goes into toxic shock syndrome. And his fever spikes like almost 108. It was like 107.9 or something like that.
Yeah, and he slipped into a coma.
Yeah, couldn't get his fever to come down. And he went into a coma. Because you figure anything over 104.5, they tell you to go to the hospital.
Yeah, because
you can
damage.
do brain damage. Yeah, brain damage if it stays there for too long. So it's like, you've got to be fucking kidding me, dude.
Yeah.
And so he's in the hospital for a while, and like Kevin at this point is like in an apartment with his wife. They've got a kid at this point,
and a
dog, and he is really struggling because again, it's like this is all happening in a relatively short time frame, and he's really starting to buy into this curse thing.
Yeah, and he won't come home.
Yeah, that's not yet.
Are you sure? Because even with Carrie,
that's when he's laying in bed, and his wife's like, "You got to take the baby so I can go to work," and he's like, I can't," and she's like, dude, and like ends up smacking his leg or something, and he's like, sorry, and kind of snaps out of it, but he's like really prepared to just not partake in life right now.
Backtracking again for another really good part that we missed down, when David does die, we see Kevin laying in David's bed, and just like he's not crying,
no, but it's just that
like
deep. He's not there right now,
and
his wife comes in,
and he's
what
like,
is her name?
She's like, are you okay? And he's just like, I'm fine.
And she's like, you can talk to me if you want to,
And he says, no, I'm fine.
Like, I'm good. And she's like, all right, and kind of holds him.
And like, yeah, you can tell he's
not fine. Pam is her name. Yeah. Played by Lily James.
But yeah, back to...
So Mike does end up coming out of the coma, but very obviously did have some brain damage from the fever and the coma. And... like you and I were talking about how awful it is. They have like a press conference at the hospital.
Yeah.
And
he's still got his nightgown on and they just threw something over it.
Yeah. And he's, in a sling because where he had the surgery on his arm. And, he's like kind of drooling on himself and his face, you can tell he's just droopy. Not present right now.
Yeah.
And Kevin's doing the talking and Dad's off on the wing, kind of just watching. Like you and I said, he almost looks disappointed looking at Michael.
Yeah.
And one of the questions, Kevin's talking on behalf of Michael.
Yeah, and he asks him, like, how you doing? He goes, great, thank you guys all for coming out here, checking on me. Thanks for all the flowers.
Yeah.
And then the question was like, so when do you think you're going to return back to the ring?
Yeah, when do you think he'll be back in the ring? And he's kind of like, soon,
Well, it was just silent for a second. And like,
does Kevin kind of speak up?
Yeah, Kevin speaks up because he doesn't say anything. And like, but that camera shot was one of those still photos where it's just like, he's just
right
like,
now? He's not well.
It's like, I got the same feeling there when Fritz came up to him and said, all right, who's going to go be heavyweight champion since
your brother just died. Yeah.
And it's just like that.
Are you fucking
kidding me?
And and so Kevin kind of steps in and is like, oh, he's real strong. We're going to get him better. He'll be back in the ring,
But
soon.
Kevin was trying to get him out of the ring.
Yeah. And
so I know that was a real bullet to bite.
Yeah. To save face, and be like, well, I can't say he's not going to go back.
Right, because that dad just won't allow that.
Right. And so Carrie and everybody are back home having kind of a really tough time because it just feels like, again, your life's kicking you while you're down already. And Mike's really kind of struggling. I did like that he and Mom kind of share a little bit of a moment where I think she sees her son as like really not well.
Yeah.
And she kind of sits down next to him while he's eating his dinner, and it's just him out there.
He's looking at a painting.
Looking at a painting on the wall, and she goes, I painted that. That's the house I grew up in. And he's like, oh, I never knew that. Why didn't you tell anybody that? And she's like, I had a reason, but I don't remember what it was, And it's kind of like this nice thing of like, that's something I didn't know about my mom, and she shared that with me, and it's a moment just between the two of them. But I do think that was maybe her way of saying like, I mean, I'm artistic too, and like, Dad was a singer, wasn't that it? Or no, he played an instrument in like band. Was that what it was?
Yeah.
And so it's like that was there, and so he goes to his room and he tries to play his guitar, and he can't, and it's just not good, He doesn't have the hand-eye coordination anymore, and
he can't like open his hand all the way.
Control, And he basically goes in the bathroom and takes a bunch of his probably pain meds, I think, and wanders off into the because they own a ranch and do farming and stuff. Wanders off into the farm with a sleeping bag and presumably lays down and goes to sleep and doesn't wake up. And next morning they're looking for him.
There's a note saying, "I'm sorry if I hurt anyone. I'm going to a better place."
Yeah, and he was gone. And so then it's like, God damn it, that's just one more.
Just picking him off.
And then you just see just a montage of Kevin wrestling basically by himself or with people that aren't his brother, like doing tag team matches and things like that. And it's just all the joy's gone, and it's like he didn't enjoy wrestling. He enjoyed being with his brothers, which he stated. And Dad, is still like, pushing all kinds of things
Pushing
on
P.
him. And Carrie ends up going, way down the line, ends up going to the WWF.
Yeah. They're juicing at this point.
What's that?
They're juicing.
Yeah, I mean, they've been
juicing.
Fuck you saying, man? We're trying to talk about a family tragedy, and you're like, they juicing.
They were.
Juicing.
It's an important part of the thing.
Not really.
They're
Didn't
on the
really play
roids.
that much into it.
Zac Efron had a roided gut.
Yeah.
He was looking big.
Allegedly.
Looking like Liver King.
Yeah. Yeah. But he really did.
Primals!
Yeah. But all of this to say, yeah, he's not having a good time. Carrie goes to the WWF and is doing really well there, it seems. Comes back home to see, and like at this point, Zac Efron's kind of playing a passive role. He's not really in the ring too much. He's kind of running the business while Dad is at home.
Yeah.
But like this is where you're talking about. He's not going home anymore. He's sleeping at the office. Mm-hmm. And they come to find out it's because he's really afraid of the curse.
Yeah,
he almost sees it like a disease, and he doesn't want to give it to them.
He's like, I don't want to spread it to you.
Yeah,
guys.
I don't want to be around you guys because I'm going to get you guys killed, basically. Mm-hmm. And which what an awful place to be at emotionally, where you feel like
You genuinely
it's me.
feel that way. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like
me.
this is happening because of either who I am or who my name is or whatever. Either way, I can't be with my family.
They changed the baby's name so it wasn't a Von Erich.
Yeah, he put his son's name as like his birth name because Von Erich's not their real name; that's their stage name essentially. And so legally, his son's name is his birth name, not the Von Erich name, intentionally so that he wasn't a Von Erich. Mm-hmm. But Carrie comes home from being out on the road and being in the WWF and all that, and he's just not well. He seems really kind of jittery and like jacked up. Could be, or he could just be manic, like a bipolar manic episode. Mm-hmm. But he's home for Christmas. He and his girlfriend are going to go to Mexico for Christmas because they got a good price on a plane ticket or whatever. So we're home for like Christmas Eve or the week before, and I got you something, Dad, and it's a rare pistol,
it's a Smith and Wesson.
Mm-hmm. And he's got it in the box. He's like, well, you got to shoot it, Dad. He's
you
like,
got to pop off around.
He's like, I don't want to shoot it. He's like, well, you're supposed to shoot a gun when you get it. It's like bad luck or whatever. He's like, I don't want to shoot it right now. And he like blows up bad and is like yelling and cussing at Dad.
What the fuck?
And everybody's like, dude, relax. And he kind of gets himself settled down because Kevin kind of steps in and gets a hold of him and goes in, grabs a couple beers, and was like, all right,
let's get back out.
He's like, you good, my man? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. And that's kind of how that ended. And then, next shot is him, Kevin being at home and in bed. It's like you get the vibe. It's like that early morning gray, maybe 4 a.m, 5 a.m. And his phone rings and he picks it up and it's Carrie. And Carrie's basically like in a motel somewhere there in Texas and is like, I'm not okay. I'm not good. Yeah. Like I don't want to. Yeah, he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And Kevin's like, well, where are you at, man? Let me come get you. We got to get you some help. Let me come get you. And he's basically like, he kind of panics and hangs up on him.
Yeah.
And so then Kevin's in this weird spot of like, my brother just called me to tell me like he doesn't want to be here anymore, and I don't know where he is to help him.
Yeah.
So he calls Dad, and is like, Dad, I'm coming over. We got to figure out, like, Carrie needs our help. We got to figure out how to help him. And he's like, you boys work it out. And he's like,
I
bet. And he's like, I'm coming over. Stay up. Look out for him. Keep an eye out for him. And when Kevin pulls up to the house, Carrie's car is there with the door wide open, the driver door wide open. So he runs up to the car. Nobody's there. Looks up at the house, and the front door is just wide open. Goes stepping up into the front door, and as soon as he crosses the threshold, you hear a gunshot outside. And he turns, and the tree in the front yard, Carrie had propped himself up, sitting against the tree.
And Smith and Wesson.
Yep, shot himself in the chest. And Kevin goes over and has like a really, again, Zac Efron does a really good job of, like I said, it wasn't over the top. It was like, yes, this is true, like horrified, like sick to the gut grief,
Yeah.
And then Dad comes running up out of the field.
Yep.
Like, oh, what happened, And Kevin
loses it.
Because like he said, I told you to fucking look out for him.
And that's what he said. Like, I think verbatim, he's like, I told you to fucking look out for him. And he comes up and he starts choking him.
Yeah, he grabs him by the collar first, kind of grabs him up by the scruff. And he says, I told you to look out for him. Pushes him down to the ground, I think, at that point, and says, you never looked out for any of us. And he's like, "You're his brother. You know, he called you, and you couldn't fucking save him, or something to that effect."
And that's when
Kevin just starts. First of all, I think he punches his dad a couple times, and then just puts his hands around him and starts choking him. Yeah. Almost kills him.
I thought he was gonna.
Yeah, I mean, it's that kind of thing where he sees dad starting to like black out and kind of realizes like, "Oh shit, I am killing this man." And gets off him and just goes over and picks his brother up and carries him in
and puts him on the kitchen table,
lays him out on the dining room table, and sits down next to him and kind of holds his hand. And Carrie's note was, I don't know, like, basically I don't know what the afterlife is like, but I'm gonna go walk with my brothers tonight. And so then it does just a hard cut to like it's really warm orange daylight, and Carrie's walking barefoot, so you can tell that this is the afterlife.
I thought he was paddling a boat.
Well, at first he's walking across the front yard. He's basically walking out of the house.
Yeah.
And he's got his toes in the grass and kind of jumps, and then he goes and he gets in the boat.
Yeah, because he has both feet.
Yeah. And he paddles across the lake, and up on the dock is the other brothers, Mike and David are
Mike's
there.
playing the guitar.
Yep. And they're like, "Hey, brother," and he's like, "Yeah, guys," and he comes up and gets out, and they kind of mentioned early on, Zac Efron had that they had an older brother.
But he died. They died at five.
Died when the brother was 6, Kevin was 5.
Yeah.
And he's Jack Jr. So dad's name isn't Fritz, it's Jack. But his professional name is Fritz. Because that's the thing they didn't talk about. The whole Fritz von Erich thing is that he's supposed to be like an ex-Nazi from like World War II, who like came to the States after the fact. This is his whole thing. Is like, that's why he's a villain.
Thanks.
So he's Fritz von Erich. But Carrie, comes up and is talking to the brothers, hugging everybody, and they're like, "Hey, good to see you, buddy," And he's like, "Where's Jack Jr.?" And little kid comes out and he's hugging him and talking to them all, and they have like a big group hug, and it's really nice. And
they're just hanging out.
And then it just hard cuts
to Zac and it's just
to
dull,
Kevin. Yeah,
bleak.
It's really gray, and he's just sitting there holding his dead brother's hand, like just sitting on the table there. And it's that thing of like, he is all alone.
Yeah.
And he kind of leans up, gives his brother a kiss, and is basically like, what do you do, right? I mean, he is alone now.
Yeah.
And like, obviously from a relationship standpoint, he doesn't have dad or mom at this point.
It was just him and his brothers.
Because it's too far at this point. Like, as far as he's concerned, it feels like they're all dead because of you.
Yeah.
You took my brothers from me. And so he leaves, and he ends up selling the company because they'd gotten a few buyout offers. And so he sells it off and takes the money and buys himself because that's the other thing, remember?
Because he wasn't getting paid enough from his dad.
He finds out that his dad was basically embezzling money from him.
All of his money.
Yeah.
Like giving him nothing.
Yeah, the amount that Zac Efron, that Kevin's getting paid is not what Kevin's getting paid, And, dad's like, "What? What'd you think? It was free to live here and eat and shit and all that, And so, yeah, he ends up selling the company out from under dad and keeps the money, buys a house. And this is when it gets real heavy. Like, because it's still been really heavy, but he's at home with the boys and watching his sons play in the backyard, and he's sitting in the yard and he's crying. And it's the kind of cry where you can tell, like, he didn't want to cry, but it just bubbles up and you can't stop it, He's sitting there like quietly sobbing, and the boys are, like I said, running around the yard playing, and they kind of look over and see that he's crying. So they come up and are like, "Daddy, what's wrong?" And he's giving the same spiel like dad, and he's like, "I'm sorry, boys. You're not supposed to see me like this. Men don't cry or whatever." And they're like, "What are you talking about, dude? We cry all the fucking time.
All the time.
And he's like, "I guess that's true, And it's funny because they're little boys, and of course they cry, And they're like, "Well, do you think you know why you're sad? Maybe we could work on it, And he's still getting kind of choked up and teary-eyed, and he goes, "Well, I guess it's because I used to be a brother, and I'm not a brother anymore." And then he just starts sobbing again, and you and I both start crying.
Yeah, and I just
like looked over at each other, like,
oh.
"Oh my god, that is horrendous." And again, it's like, that's a really effective line of like, Jesus, that is a really strange, not strange way, but like a poignant way to put like being somebody. It's like if both your parents die, you're like, "I'm not a son anymore," And it's like, that's a really weird. I've always been this, and now I'm just not. That's who I was, right? And especially when that one of the things that he wanted out of life was to just be with his brothers, And so then again, the extra level of this is really impactful is the fact that it is a true story. Obviously, that line is probably written, maybe not have been exactly as he said it, or but that sentiment is still there, And so it's like, yeah, that's how this real person who like this happened to somebody, And then it just kind of rolls credits, and like what's the Von Erich family? The whole Von Erich family was inducted in the Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2009.
The WWE.
And what was it? Kevin has what was it, 14 or 4 kids and 13 grandchildren.
Yeah.
And it was kind of nice to see a really big family photo, and it's
good on you.
Yeah. And again, I think it's this thing of the Von Erich curse wasn't a Von Erich curse. It was dad.
Yeah.
And once you get out from under that, you can be the change,
Broke the curse per se.
Yeah. And, dad was really...
I wanted him to die.
Yeah. I mean, it's that really weird thing of he's such an effective villain, and then it's well, he's not a villain. He's a real person. Maybe they played it up. And again, I mean, there is a little bit of
There's a bunch of people like that out there today.
Yeah. And obviously there's a narrative bias because it is told from Kevin's perspective.
Sure.
So this is how Kevin felt and experienced the whole thing. It'd be a totally different movie if you played it from dad's perspective.
Right.
Right. Which might still be an interesting story of making him a very, it's hard to root for this guy kind of a character, Yeah. But again, it's told from Kevin's perspective. One, because he's probably the most, what an interesting perspective to get, right? Is he's the one that survives. So also by necessity, it's his perspective because he's the only story that we have verbatim, But no, I mean, it was very good. But again, like we talked about, we'll buy it when it comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Probably won't watch it.
Not for a while.
Yeah. Might be one where you're you know what, movie, if you have somebody over that's not seen it, and you're you got to watch this movie.
Yeah, it's good.
We got to put it on, but it's tough. We got to watch it. But yeah, definitely not one that I'm going to be let's put that shit on. But definitely go check it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a movie that deserves to get its money made. Because again, don't get a ton of movies like it. In a world of MCU, DCU, Spider-Man comic book movies. Let's get some more movies that have really good impact and meaning. And are cheap.
Yeah.
But what you been thinking about, Chris?
I think what you meant to say is, welcome back to Chris's Creepy Corner. I'm your creepy. Whoa.
Yeah, I told you that's what it needs to be called. Because
Yikes.
it's not cryptids anymore. It's just creepy.
It is. Because this isn't a cryptid either.
Yeah.
I'm rolling with a Creepy
Freudian
Corner.
slip.
I'm your host, Chris. This week, I'm gonna get a little of this shit.
All right.
Have you ever heard of the weepy-voiced killer?
No.
No. So it is this serial killer named Paul Michael Stefani.
Okay.
And he, born September 8th, 1944, until June 12th of 98, he would call the police reporting his crimes of him killing people.
Yeah.
And he would just be in hysterics
Yeah.
when he did it. And no one really knows if the hysterics were
was he putting it on?
was it staged? Was
Yeah.
he genuinely sorry about it? Was
Yeah.
he some sick man,
You're
maybe? And I want to see here. Yeah, so on December 31st, 1980, Stefani beat Karen Potak in St. Paul, Minnesota, inflicting severe wounds, such as the main one being a brain injury. Stefani himself called police at 3 a.m. to report the attack, directing the police to a location where the girl is hurt there. That's, in hysterics. And I have the recordings.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to listen to some of the calls that he's got. His next victim was Kimberly Compton, and this is the one that gave me fucking chills.
Yeah.
Kimberly Compton, an 18-year-old student from Pepin, Wisconsin, on June 3rd, 1981, in a neighboring Minneapolis. After killing her, he again contacted the police, pleading, "Goddamn, will you please just find me? I stabbed somebody with an ice pick. I can't stop myself. I feel like killing somebody." 2 days later, he called the police and said he was sorry for stabbing Compton and would turn himself in, but yet didn't. On June 6th, he called to say that newspaper accounts from some of the murderers were inaccurate. He's like, "Nah,
That's not how.
That's not it."
Yeah. Similar to the Zodiac.
And then his next call was on June 11th in a whimpering, barely coherent voice, and he cried, "I'm sorry for what I did to Compton." He had a couple other killers there too. It looks like he had 2 more. I'll just read them. His next victim was Kathleen Greening, who was found dead at her home just outside of St. Paul. Stefani later confessed to drowning her in a bathtub in her Roseville residence. His 4th victim in his last murder was Barbara Simons, a 40-year-old nurse on the Minneapolis side of the Mississippi River. The two met at a hexagon bar, and Stefani asked Simmons for a cigarette, which she gave him. After spending the night at the bar with Stefani, Simmons told the waitress, "He's cute. I hope he's nice and he's giving me a ride home." Simmons was found stabbed to death the next day. There were no calls after,
He didn't call after that one.
He didn't call, but the weepy-voiced killer contacted the police did eventually contact the police after the murder of Simmons, saying, "Please don't talk, just listen. I'm sorry I killed that girl. I stabbed her 40 times.
Oh my God.
Kimberly Compton was the first one over in St. Paul."
Jesus. Stabbed her over 40 times.
Yeah. For his trial,
how did they catch him? Did he end up turning himself in?
Stefani picked up a 19-year-old sex worker named Denise Williams on August 21st, 1982 in Minneapolis. Williams sensed something was wrong when Stefani began driving through the dark, suburban area rather than returning her to the city where he originally picked her up. After turning onto a dead-end road, he stabbed her 15 times with a screwdriver.
Holy fuck.
During the attack, Williams was able to hit Stefani on the head with a glass bottle, causing him to cut his face and head open. Her screams drew the attention of a man who lived nearby. Upon seeing Stefani trying to stab Williams again, began to wrestle with him to, break it loose, causing Stefani to flee the scene. The man was able to call for an ambulance, and later helped identify Stefani. However, when Stefani returned home to his apartment, he noticed he was bleeding badly and sought medical help. It was this call that confirmed Stefani was the weepy-voiced killer and linked him to the Williams attack. Further investigating his work later connected the murders of Simmons, and then in 1997, he was diagnosed with skin cancer and had less than a year to live. And then he confessed to the murders of Kim Compton, Barbara Simmons, and Kathy Greening.
Yeah.
He had not even been a suspect in the Greening death.
Wow.
So he ratted himself out.
Yeah.
As he had not made a phone call saying that he had done it.
Right.
He confessed to a beating and attack of 1980, stabbing Kimberly Compton in 81, drowning Kathleen Greening in 82, and then stabbing Barbara Simmons in 82 and Denise Williams in 82 as well. He pleaded guilty to all of them. That's fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they're like, "Oh, you killed her?"
Yeah.
Like we weren't even.
Yeah. I mean, you figure that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the problem is the way that police stations handle evidence and things like that. There's almost a inter-organization rivalry of not sharing information. It's not like it goes into a big police database. Mm-hmm. It's if you're in a total other state or county, they might not share cases with each other. Mm-mm. And so it can go totally you don't see the big pattern. Mm-mm. Because it's in Minneapolis, it's over here, in this state. And
realistically speaking, you or I could hop to somewhere in the inner city of our state and kill somebody.
Right.
Get away with it.
Yeah, potentially. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Super easy. But here is it's 1:34 for all of them.
Okay.
Right, so I'm just going to play them through.
Yeah.
Talk, just listen. I'm sorry what I did to Compton. I couldn't help it. Don't know why I had to stab her. I am so upset about it. I keep getting drunk every night. I can't believe I think like a big dream. I can't think of being locked up. If I get locked up, I'll kill myself. I'd rather kill myself than get locked up. I'll try not to kill anybody else.
I'll try not to kill anybody. How do you try?
Right.
He said, I'll try.
But it's that sad thing of it's that weird thing of he knows. And that's when it's almost a compulsion or disease of He knows it's wrong, seemingly doesn't want to. If you believe him, doesn't want to do it, but just can't stop.
But then why didn't he call for rating?
Who knows? You know.
Here's the next one.
Fire emergency.
Please don't talk, just listen. I'm sorry I killed that girl. I stabbed her 40 times. Kimberly Compton was the first one overseas. Oh, I don't know what's the matter with me. I'm sick. I'm going to kill myself, I think.
Where are you?
I'm just going to... If somebody dies with a root shit on, it's me. I killed both people. I'm sorry. I'll never make it to heaven.
Calm down. Calm down.
I like the lady. Calm down. Calm the fuck down.
Somebody with a knife stick. I can't stop myself. I keep killing somebody. Yes, please. This is an emergency. Please send a squad to Pierce Butler Road, Molenberg Manufacturing Company, machine shop. Please, there's an ambulance too. There's a girl hurt there.
Can you tell me what happened to her?
Just hurry. She's laid on the ground in the back by the railroad tracks, by the airfield. Hurry.
What's the address?
I don't know.
Who are you?
Those are all the recorded things, but like, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just a serial murderer, just who would call himself, and it makes me think of shit. What's that movie? It had played Elton John.
Oh yeah, Taron Egerton.
Yeah,
Blackbird.
yeah. It makes me think of something along those lines where it's just
Yeah.
like he called. He like everyone's like this guy always
Yeah.
calls it him, you know, or says
Yeah.
it's him. But this
It was
guy's just
him.
crying, like begging on the phone, like, you know, I just like he's hurt.
Please,
and
you
stuff
gotta
like that.
stop me.
But like, what do you think? Yeah, and like that's the thing is like, there's not a whole lot else about him as far as like, if he was,
Yeah.
you know, like a psycho
Yeah.
or like had some sort of
Disorder
or disease or anything like that. But it is
I
just
mean, he
like,
was very obviously mentally ill.
but that's the big thing is like, do you think he's playing it on?
No. And even if he was, that's still somebody who's mentally ill.
Sure. I mean,
You know
I'm
what I
mentally
mean?
ill.
Sure, but that's a very different. That's a slippery thing to try and compare the two, Chris.
I am basically Jeffrey Dahmer.
Anybody who's mentally ill is probably should be locked up because they're going to kill people.
What is if you're in the psych ward, you can't buy a gun?
Right.
They tried to put me in the psych ward once. I just left the hospital.
Yeah. Honestly, probably should have.
Confidentially speaking, I am crazy. I'm gonna fucking kill you. No, but I just thought that was interesting and creepy, and I wanted to.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you guys like that, you know, write us an
You guys
email.
like
let me
that
know.
shit? You're weird. No.
Yeah, you're fucking
Fuck
goofy.
you, dude. That's
goofy.
yuck. Gross. You.
But I mean, yeah, if you know any other like creepy like
If you know any
chilling-
killers.
yeah, if you know any killers, throw
Give us
them in
your
the email.
address. Yeah.
Yeah, send us your address, simplywellmailbag@gmail.com. What about you? What have you been thinking about?
A couple things. Meaning of life? No. What happens when we die? Nothing. Oh god, no. I've been playing the game Crusader Kings 3. Mm-hmm. I'm getting the hang of it. It's a game that I've picked up a couple times and sucked ass at, and then been like, all right, well, maybe this is just in for me, and I'm not getting it. And this last time I was like, you know what, I want to jump in that and just give it a poke. I'm doing pretty good at it this time. I think I'm doing better than I ever have.
There
So
we
it
go.
feels like I'm doing well.
That's what it's about.
It's about damn time, you know. In a minute, I'm gonna need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up, you know. Sorry,
Pump me up.
I don't know where Lizzo came from, but no, it's a good time. I'm having a good time. I'm the king of Scotland. Scotland. No, I'm the king of Ireland, and I'm conquering Scotland right now.
Potatoes.
What'd you say?
I don't know any Irish things. I just meant potatoes.
Potatoes. You good over there, my man?
Yeah, just said weepy killer. Don't talk, just listen.
Oh God.
Paul Michael, whatever his last name was.
Like, oh, don't talk, just listen. Horrifying. So the other thing I've been thinking about is we're winding up to somewhere, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, start our own D&D campaign, like as a family. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be the DM.
Jonathan Majors.
Yep. Family. That famous line from Dom Toretto or Jonathan Majors. It's a shame Vin Diesel won't get to be Kang anymore.
Yeah.
Do you see where Vin Diesel was on ABC crying about beating his girlfriend up? Anyways.
Apparently, he does have allegations on him.
Yeah, he does. I brought that up on the show.
Yeah. Whatever happened with that?
I don't know yet. I mean, it's been like 2 weeks. It doesn't work that fast, my man. Whatever happened with that? Is he in jail yet? Like, God damn. But, no. So, yeah, I've been doing a lot of research because I'll be a first time. I've never played D&D. Mm-hmm. I mean, I understand the concepts of it, you know, and I watched some like real plays.
Me currently wearing my D&D hoodie.
And I've got my, Are You My Dad?
Are You My Dad?
From Dimension 20. Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
But, yeah, so I mean, I understand the concepts of it. And Morgan really has been into it since she started playing Baldur's Gate. And it's like, we got to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to play it. So for Christmas, you know, Dad and I went together and got some, like, D&D stuff, like a starter kit and things like that. And she wants me to be the DM. So I'm like, all right. So I've been doing a lot of homework on, like, how can I make this fun for everybody?
I went to GameStop the other day, and you can buy, not a sponsor, by the way. You saw this, there's a thing you can buy, and it's like a giant troll, and he's got his legs crisscrossed around like a cauldron of fire, and you can take the top, like a piece of the top of his head off, and you throw your dice in there, and it spits it out underneath the cauldron.
Oh,
and I was like, yo.
Yeah, Dice Tower.
That's gas.
Yeah. But so, hopefully, like I said, here in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll do our first session and get started. And we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm excited about it. I've been doing a lot of like homework and.
You said all the characters you're making are preset.
Yeah.
Do you have my sheet?
I do.
Can I have it?
Yeah. Yep.
Start sketching stuff in.
Yeah. Now, I mean, this is totally like we can talk about it here or not, but part of what I'm going to do is because it has its own preset backstory a little bit.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'm going to do from doing a lot of research on the campaign that we're going to run, for people that are into it or know, it's Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. It's a beginner's set, relatively short adventure. I've been reading a lot.
Like one session short, or
no? It'll probably be about 4 sessions.
4.
But yeah, 4 to 5, just depending on how much role play
going
we
on a
do or how
3-hour
long we
bender.
take. Yeah, right. But yeah, so all of that to say, one of the bottlenecks is everybody has different motivations, and so we'll do a little bit of tweaking. To make everybody's motivations make sense together. So, you know, you can read your background, but don't get too hung up on like your personal goal.
No.
But yeah, it'll be a good time. I think I'm excited. Either way, it'll be fun.
Yeah,
and you know, it's nice because other than you, I don't think anybody my dad's gonna play, and he played D&D like in the 80s, maybe. And
so I'm going to be the most.
You'll be the most experienced there, and you're not that experienced, so we'll be learning together. You know.
I mean, that's the thing, too. A lot of it is just shit on the fly.
Yeah.
Like in my other one, I literally just went to a brothel, paid to have sex. The sex worker turned out to be a succubus. And then I almost killed her, but right before I did, she said, if you let me live, I'll let you fuck me. And I said, I'll call that a deal. Damn good deal. And that's how the session ended.
I like that. This is now on the record is me and a bunch of my guy friends got together. And
there is one friend, and that's a girl.
All right. Me and a bunch of guy friends and a single lady friend went to a common area and role played. And you know what we did when we role played? Went to a brothel, and I said, "I'll fuck you." And
damn right.
And my friend who's the DM was voicing her lines for me.
I was breaking, dude.
Just like in any.
I said, yeah, because it was like we finished our quest.
That is
like,
the nerdiest thing I've ever heard. You know how I role played?
We were in
picking up a prostitute.
We were. Hey, Toots. No, we were in Baldur's Gate, and he was like, "What do you want to do?" You know, because we just finished our quest. And I was like,
bitches.
I want to roll a perception check. Is there a brothel around? Landed like a 17.
Yeah,
and I was like,
"Yes, there is."
Boom. And he was like, "Yeah, there is." He goes, "There's one." He's like, 2 stalls down, 3 stalls to the right.
You're like, "That's me."
Walk over, and it was also an inn, and so I was like, "All right, well, it's nighttime. We'll sleep in." And then I
won't be
asked,
much sleeping, but I'll be in bed.
Yeah, because I asked someone directions to it, and he was like, "You should ask for Cynthia." And so I was like, "All right, is Cynthia
Big
here?"
bet, yeah.
And said Cynthia was the succubus.
Where's Cindy?
I'm looking for someone by the name Diamond.
Chastity.
I'm looking for someone named Leonard.
Yeah. So there we have it, folks. Chris role played being a John at a prostitute bar.
Yeah.
At a prostitute bar.
Well, it really
A
didn't go
brothel.
my way
Yeah,
because
no, you
we
got
all
your shit pushed
we
in.
almost, well, no,
Not like you paid for either.
nuh-uh. I wasn't packing no fudge, but I mean, it is what it is.
Anyways, I think that's going to be where we start closing her off. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give us a great review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called now. Like and favorite and all that good stuff on your audio streaming service of choice. That way you get notified when we post our episodes. As of right now, we're sticking with our normal schedule of Wednesdays. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
If you guys wanted to reach out to us and tell us what you thought about this episode, if you did get to see Iron Claw, what did you think about it? Talk about any of the news. What'd you think about the Golden Globes? Like Chris had said about his cryptids there, his creepies there. Any other creepy stories you want us to talk about? Let us know.
Yeah, I'm having fun with the 911 calls or like audio, being able to hear it.
Yeah, it's a total other level.
Yeah.
But how would people reach out to us, Chris?
Yeah, you can always let us know. Reach out to us. Our Instagram and Facebook, YouTube is Simply Whelmed Podcast. Our Twitter handle is whelmed_simply. You can always reach out to us at our email, which is simplywhelmedmailbag@gmail.com.
That's right. I did want to mention last week we did stream for about 2 hours.
We had a lot of fun.
Played Lethal Company, had a good time.
Probably do it again here soon.
Yeah, had a few people in attendance. Seemed to have a good time with us.
Yeah.
So I was streaming it at Simply Whelmed Pod Colin on Twitch. So keep an eye out on that. And I posted ahead of time on our socials just saying, hey, in about 30 minutes or whatever, I'll be going live. So, tune in for that. So, yeah, if you're following us on our socials, you'll get notifications when we're going to go live.
Bang,
so,
bang, bang.
Keep your fucking eyes peeled, baby.
That's all I got.
Yeah, next week, I don't know. Echo comes out and they're dropping all episodes at once, and it's going to have our boy Daredevil in there. So maybe we peep that shit. I don't know how many episodes it is. I think it's like 6 maybe. So maybe we peep it and just see what we think. But we'll play it by ear, see how it goes.
Shoot,
Who
what's
knows?
popping?
Yeah, you know what we'll do next week? What we fucking want to.
Right, we will. I can wipe my ass on this mic, and that's what we're gonna fucking post.
That's right. You just hear it. It sounds like a dog sniffing under the door.
Just my
Just
asshole.
your ass on the. Yeah. Get out of here, man.
Sniffing the thing.
Anyways, I think that's the end of the episode, Chris. Tell everybody bye.
Bye.